This video explains the xCel wrap-up process for the Member Engagement Officer and what needs to happen before the meeting, during the meeting and after the meeting. So first of all, it's always best to start out with the end in mind and come to your meeting prepared. If you pre-fill your member reconciliation and top-up form before you arrive at the meeting, it will just mean you're super ready and prepared for what's going to happen. This member reconciliation top-up form is your worksheet so that you can complete the xCel wrap-up Google form at the end of your meeting. And it gives you the opportunity to make notes and update as you go to keep on top of any payments, any walk-ins, registrations, and all those types of things that occur at the meeting. So here's a look at your reconciliation and top-up form. Obviously, the key elements to complete that you can do before you come along to your meeting is your group location, the date of today's meeting, and the person that is completing the form. And this is helpful if the accounts team need to reach out to anybody from team with any questions. And most of these figures are really self-explanatory. So the total number of attendees pre-registered straight out of Dynamic Sync goes into this box. And the number of people registered for the meeting that haven't paid goes into this box. Once again, you can always check with your regional team leader or your field operations manager if you're unclear about anyone being paid or unpaid. And down this side of the form is where you will list anybody that is registered for the meeting and unpaid. So you know exactly who you need to collect payment from, or if you need to collect a gift voucher from somebody, they'll all be listed here really clearly. If you had someone arrive for the meeting that was unregistered and they rocked up and they had to register and pay, or they arrived and they were going to redeem a gift voucher, you would list them down here, and then you would either use a QR code to book them in for the meeting, or you would use a QR code on a gift voucher perhaps, or you would book those people in through either the website if they're a guest or the one-click booking link if they were a member. The other thing to list here is the names of the guests that arrived for the meeting today. So you'll list them all here, and at the end of the meeting you'll just put a yes or a no in this column that determines whether or not they joined at the particular meeting. So the xCel wrap-up is used as you can be working on that during the meeting. So once everybody has sat down for the meeting, you can quickly take a look at it and just make sure that all your numbers are balancing. You can do a head count to make sure that the number of people in the room correspond with the number of people you have marked present in Dynamic Sync, the number of meals that you have ordered with the venue. And this will help avoid someone not paying, so that you really are aware of who's in the room, who's paid, who needs to pay. And it will also help when it comes time to do the reconciliation for the venue with their tax invoice. Now, things to be conscious of. So Dynamic Sync is our absolute Bible of attendance. So the numbers on your rec sheet and your Google wrap sheet should directly correspond with the number of people in Dynamic Sync. Any notes that you write on the reconciliation sheet should be transferred and written into the notes for accounts on your Google wrap sheet as well. You need to remember that the accounts team have no visibility or knowledge of anything that happened in your meeting today, and so it's best to just write more information than they may need rather than just forgetting to mention things because you just would assume that they might know. Make sure that you make notes of guests and new members that join at the meeting, and there is a place on your Google wrap sheet that gives you the opportunity to write the number of guests that were attended the meeting, and then the number of guests that joined at the meeting, and then also the names of the guests that joined at the meeting. Please make sure you note any gift vouchers that are redeemed with gift voucher numbers, and then also noting on the physical gift voucher the details of the person that redeemed the voucher, the date, and the name of the meeting. Also remembering that gift vouchers can't be redeemed unless you have the physical voucher. So it's just like going to a store and wanting to use a store gift voucher. You must have the physical voucher for it to be redeemed at the meeting. And once again, remembering to note anything that's relevant for the accounts team that they need to be aware of on your wrap sheet in the Google Drive. And that's an overview of the xCel wrap for your meeting to ensure that it balances and the accounts team don't need to reach out to you post-meeting to ensure that everything is correct. The other thing to remember is to transfer the data from your reconciliation sheet onto this Google form. So ensuring that all of these numbers in the column for the date of your meeting are completed. So the number of people registered prior to the meeting and paid, which is taken straight from the reconciliation sheet, which is the number of people that were registered and not paid. You just transfer the totals over to here. And then post-meeting, the total number of people that attended. So that is taken straight from Dynamic Sync and also clarified when you do the head count at the meeting. The number of unregistered walk-ins, so members or guests, and the number of people that had to pay on the door, so whether they were walk-ins or whether they had maybe registered and not paid, you would record that number here. The number of people in Dynamic Sync that did not arrive at the meeting but were in Dynamic Sync and had paid, so you would record any of those people. And then also any team that are required not to pay. So that might be team leaders who have been to the Make It Happen meetings, any regional team leaders, and any BXHQ people such as Matt or Loz or Jay. And then also recording, just as a double check, the number of breakfasts on the tax invoice. So that should be equal to or less than the number of people that have attended the meeting. Sometimes we have people that attend meetings that don't have breakfast, so it is likely often that this number could be less than the number of attendees, but it definitely cannot be more. And once again, to have done a physical head count at the meeting just to make sure that you've accounted for everybody. If there are any vouchers that have been redeemed for the meeting, then the number of the vouchers would be listed here. And these figures here are taken and are automatically pulled from the other data you've entered earlier up in the spreadsheet. So if the meeting has balance, this reconciliation of people figure will be 0, and that's what you're aiming for. This figure has to be 0, otherwise you've missed something further up in the reconciliation. And then also to record the number of guests at the meeting, the number of guests that joined at the meeting, and then the names of any guests that joined at the meeting. If you have had any vouchers that have been redeemed, then you would note the name of the member that has redeemed the voucher and the voucher number in this section of the form. And also, this is where you record the number of referral slips that happened today and the name of the person that gave the most referrals. This is where we keep track for the Networker of the Year for our BX Business Excellence Awards that happen later in the year. And then any notes for accounts that are relevant. So if anybody happened to have moved a meeting, the accounts team would have put a note here for you. If there are any complementary meetings in terms of team leaders or regional leaders, the accounts team would have put notes here. And also for you to write any notes that become relevant so the accounts team are aware of anything in particular that happened at your meeting. Also, if there have been any Eventbrite or Meetup bookings, this is where the accounts team would have made notes of this before the meeting for you, and something you should refer to when you're completing your reconciliation form before you come into the meeting, so you're aware where people stand in terms of those meeting payments. So this gives you an overview of where you transfer the rec form, where those figures come to in terms of the Google shared Google form, and this is where the accounts team come to make sure that your meeting balances.